A bomb was detonated at the Metro train station at 125th and Park Avenue in New York City. Our objective is to find the bomber, identify co-conspirators, and find any links to known terrorists. Forensic evidence indicates the bomb was remotely detonated by an SMS, so we've requested call detail records from the telecommunication service providers in the area. We'll combine geospatial and temporal query capabilities to search for communications the day of the bombing within the area of interest. This returns 764 calls in a tabular list. We can filter some of those calls out. We'll visualize this on a chart using different layout formats to help us identify patterns. We're looking at call chains indicating a series of related communications. This is too much data for us to sift through manually, so we're going to use filters and histograms to focus on the calls at the exact time of the bombing. The histogram shows call activity within the area. We'll drill down to 321, the time of the bombing. The number of interest here ends in 1749. We'll use the recommendation engine to find more information such as entities that have a relationship with this number. The recommendation engine returns two entities that have an association with the number. We have now linked the phone with Patricia and Regine. Let's send this data to a new chart. We have the phone in the middle with Patricia and Regine shown off to the sides. On the left we see an address, aliases, and associates. Patricia uses an alias of Louis Cypher. On the right, we have an address, names, and social security information for Regine, who uses an alias of the Pommy. In the entity view on the right, we can see name variants, addresses, and attributes like social security numbers. There are multiple data sources ranging from good to neutral quality that have participated in the creation of this item, providing a single view of multi-source data. We'll search our other sources to see what information we have on these people using their aliases. We can also use Watson Content Analytics to search unstructured data. Watson found a surveillance report showing people using the aliases the Pommy and Louis Cypher were observed at an ISIS support speech in Queens, New York 1 month ago. We can also visualize the relationship on a chart. To progress our investigation into these suspects, we want to see if they have connections to a known terrorist. Achia Toom is suspected of having ties to ISIS. Let's search for Achia Toom. A surveillance report confirms she attended the same support speech as suspects Regine and Patricia. We want to run a find path analytic to see if there's a stronger connection here than just attending the same event. Patricia has connections to our known terrorists through a couple of addresses and another person of interest. Let's check Regine. The recommendation engine finds a path going through a mobile phone. This is sufficient information to question the suspects. During interviews, investigators learn of a potential attack on JFK Airport. We need a three-dimensional query using geospatial, temporal, and relationships. We want to know the calls that have been made or received around the airport over the last year, where the owner of the phone is connected with a terrorist organization, and that organization's name is ISIS. We have 849 results showing Gardam has been making and receiving calls in the vicinity of the airport in the last 12 months. We have a chart pre-populated with information from the recommendation engine related to watch list and airside workers. We want to know if there's any connection between Gardam and any airside worker. Clarence Sheep is an airside worker being considered as a potential person of interest. Clarence Sheep has an association with an address. Taraya Sheep also has an association with that address, possibly a family member. Taraya was also recorded at a checkpoint with Gardam Musil. We can look at the entity view to see what other information we have on this new person, Taraya. She has two names, possibly a married name and a maiden name, so Clarence's sister went through the checkpoint in a vehicle with a terrorist using her married name. This process shows how we can manually uncover these connections. We had some interest in Clarence, we knew we were interested in Gardam, and we found a path that linked them. But we can't check for links between every bad guy and every other person. The alert functionality in the recommendation engine automates this process. It monitors incoming data for these types of relationships. If we refresh our view to show the latest details, we can see a role alert indicating that a terrorist has a connection to an airside worker. If we visualize the alert details, we can see this is exactly what we derived earlier using our manual process. We have our terrorist, Gardam Musil, who was seen at a checkpoint with Daria, who's the sister of an airside worker. We want to know what's Gardam's connection to that vehicle, who provided it, and where are they keeping it. Let's use FindPath to see if this helps us understand the connection. On the left, we can specify the number of entities we want to look across. We'll look out 5 entities, which shows a path of 6 hops connecting Gardam to the vehicle. Let's look at this on a chart. Here is Gardam, who has access to a phone, which made a call to another phone. That phone is called by Jamiko, who registered at an address in Kenwood. Another person also registered at the address owns the vehicle. So in reality, Gardam made a call to a guy who lives in a house with another guy who lent him a car. We have the key terrorist, potential accomplices, a security officer connected by a sister who was seen in the vehicle with the terrorist, the vehicle that may be of interest, the people involved with providing that vehicle to the terrorist, and their address. All of this information was discovered prior to an incident, all initiated by an alert from a recommendation engine about a terrorist linked to an airside worker.